Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Friday night, April 8th, live stream for studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. We're the oldest, largest, and in many ways only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. Follow us on Twitter, by the way. You can see the thing right there. Hey, guys, I'm going to get right into it. Had a good day. Got off to a good start. Anyhow, we did a live interview with Dana Perino on Fox News on one of their morning shows, and went fairly well. Live TV is always a dicey proposition at best, but I think it went fairly well. And if you happen to catch it, let me know what you think. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. If I can see them, if you're watching us on YouTube, sorry, not YouTube, Facebook or Twitter, if I can see your comments, I will happily respond to them. So yeah, the Fox News thing went well. I'm feeling kind of lazy tonight, so let's just watch it, shall we? I will cue it up right now, and we can see what went on. There it is.
Repayment pause through August, but some on the left are calling for that debt to be scrapped altogether. Our next guest sent a letter to the White House saying, quote, "Before the last election, you committed to both returning constitutional bankruptcy rights to federal loans and also broadly canceling the debt."
This is a letter that we sent to Biden yesterday.
Over 1 million of our members asked you to take both of these actions. Please do not delay any longer. Alan Collins is the founder of Student Loan Justice. So, Alan, I'll give you a chance to make your case here. Why do you think that debt should be canceled?
Dana, this lending system is a big government, predatory, unconstitutional lending beast. It's predatory, and the numbers that we're seeing are astounding. Before the pandemic, 80% of all borrowers, half of whom, by the way, are Republican or independent, despite what you might think, were underwater on their loans. More than half were not paying. This lending system, by all rational metrics, is catastrophically failed. And
so who do you think should pay the debt? The general taxpayer?
The taxpayers paid for these loans many years ago, and they did not pay $1.6 trillion. Unlike PPP loans, which the majority of which went to the highest 20% income bracket, student loans can be canceled without needing one dime from the Treasury and without adding even one penny to the national debt. There's no easier, cheaper way to stimulate the economy. And quite frankly, this lending system is at the point where we need to take it to the bath and drown it in the tub.
And do you think that we should stimulate the economy right now with inflation the way it is?
I think inflation is wrecking student loan borrowers. 40% of these people never graduated. All of them were determined to be financially needy before the pandemic. And as I said, we're looking at a default rate of something like well over half. Yes, we need to do this.
What would you say?
Pandemic or no?
What would you say to somebody who, grew up, didn't have a college fund, right? And the parents said, "We'd love to help you, but we can't." And instead of going to a university where they took on a lot of student debt, which was a choice to be made as an adult, they went into the military. And now they're in the military, they've served. And do you think that they should actually have to pay for the student loan decisions of their peers who made other decisions?
See, they're not paying. They're not paying. The taxpayers paid for these loans many years ago.
So who's going to pay? Who's going to pay the lender? Who is going to pay back the money? The money has to come from separate. You don't just cancel it and it goes away into thin air.
The federal government has been profiting on this lending system since 2010, over $50 billion a year since Obama federalized it. The government has also been making a profit on defaulted loans since 2004 and before. The loans can and will be canceled, adding nothing to the debt. And on balance, the federal government is probably going to be breaking about even.
Okay. So you agree with Bernie Sanders, cancel all debt. We'll see where this goes. I would just add one other thing, and I'll get your quick reaction on this. The reason that the student loans were paused was because there was a COVID emergency. The administration is about to lift Title 42 on the border because apparently there's no longer a COVID emergency. But yet the president has extended this pause through August for student loan borrowers because of a health emergency. Does that make any sense to you?
This lending system was a train wreck well before COVID. And everyone, talk to Wayne Johnson under Trump, who ran the lending system. He'll agree with me.
I'm not saying that it shouldn't be fixed, but there is debt that has to be paid, and it has to be paid for somewhere. Alan, I'm running out of time. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it and your point of view. Thanks.
Thanks. Wish we had more time.
Okay.
So there you have it, folks. Hopefully you were able to see the full screen. I don't know. So, you know, it wasn't perfect. There's a couple places I should have went that I didn't. But I think I made the point, the important points that need to be made. That is that the lending system is done. It's finished. It's toast. And for those of you who are new to the group, or those of you who just don't realize this, the lending system is done by all rational metrics. As I said in the interview that you just saw, all that stuff. But, you know, even more than that, the people who are being crushed by these loans are not wealthy people. They're not. Critical point I sort of halfway made, but didn't quite make. Look at PPP loans, okay? So the highest 20% income bracket, people making $100,000 or more, they received 75% of those PPP loans, and they don't need to be repaid, obviously. They won't be repaid. Look at student loans, by contrast. Student loans, the highest 20% income bracket, received only 30%, owns only 30% of that debt. And by the way, I happen to know quite a few people in our group who are in that category. They earn more than $100,000, but yet they still have huge student loan debts. These are not your young doctors and lawyers by and large. By and large, they are older people in their 50s and 60s who took out relatively small amounts of loans many years ago, but because of the viciously predatory and hyperinflationary nature of this debt, they're in their 50s and 60s and they still owe tremendous amounts. These are the people who will benefit when those loans are canceled. Do they deserve to have them canceled? Well, let's look at somebody like, I know I use her example quite frequently, but we have thousands of people like this. V. So V borrowed $26,000 back in the probably late 80s, 90s. To date, V has paid $93,000 back on this $26,000 loan. Most people would say, that's ridiculous. That's outrageous. But here's the kicker. V today still owes $132,000. So she's finally at the point where she's making good money in her life. Should she have to give that all largely to the federal government so that she can repay this debt? Like, what about retirement? She's got other things that she needs to be worrying about. She's getting towards the end of her working career. Yeah, guys, it is quite pathetic how people like Larry Summers, like many other people, are trying to claim that canceling student loans will benefit the wealthy, when in fact, canceling student loans will overwhelmingly largely benefit the unwealthy. So shame on people like Larry Summers, shame on people like Adam Mooney, who claims to be from the Brookings Institution, and I guess technically he is, but really he is a ringer from the Treasury Department. This should be a conservative issue, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled that we're finally got some, at least, albeit brief, some decent hearing with Fox News. That's good. It was a good first step. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, we need to be doing this every week. Frankly, every day would be fantastic. I mean, this is what we're here for. We're good at doing this stuff, reasonably good. We need to be going into the lion's den more and more and more. That's where this battle is won. And, you know, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, by the way. Maybe I should say that. I should have said that earlier. I know they tried very hard to put us in the, you know, liberal Bernie camp and that sort of thing. We're a fiercely nonpartisan group. If you're a Republican, you are very welcome here. If you're a libertarian or a communist or a socialist or a Zen or whatever your political stripes are, you are more than welcome here. However, as a practical matter, I have to tell you that politically, Republicans tend to be against us. That is changing, by the way. We're far better off with Republicans today than we were even a couple of years ago. And probably the best example of that to point to is S-2598. S-2598 is absolutely critical to be passed. It's a bill that returns bankruptcy protections to federal student loans. There's a 10-year waiting period. It's not perfect, but it is a giant leap forward, and it lies at the heart of this entire problem because, and I'm glad that they read part of our letter yesterday on the Fox News thing. We're not thrilled with Biden, and Biden has been displaying all the hallmarks of setting us up for yet another trick. Ladies and gentlemen, we were tricked in 2008 when the Democrats had total control of Congress. They said before they took control, oh yeah, we're going to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. That's the first thing we're going to do. Well, they never bothered to get around to returning bankruptcy to student loans. And instead, they foisted upon us these repayment schemes, income-based repayment, public service loan forgiveness, etc. These were all cruel, cruel jokes where 99% of everybody not only got disqualified out of the programs, but they got kicked to the curb and left owing far more than had they never even tried in the first place. And this release that we saw from President Biden, Department of Education yesterday, not one mention was made of bankruptcy, despite previous strong hints from the Department of Education that they were going to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. Saw nothing about bankruptcy. We saw nothing about canceling student loans in that announcement. So the bad guys, in other words, the student loan apparatus in Washington, D.C. and among the contractors, etc., they are trying to fool us again. They're trying to foist yet another who knows what. I suspect we'll find out come September 1st when the current loan repayment moratorium expires. But guys, come on, we got to be smarter than that this time. And I think we are. We can't let ourselves be fooled. The number one thing that our opposition wants done is they want to keep the threat of bankruptcy gone from these loans. If they can keep bankruptcy gone, Joe Biden can go up and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, you win. I'm going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loans. And you know what that will amount to? Almost nothing for almost everyone, and absolutely nothing for many. This is the same trick we've seen going back to 2008. So please, guys, please, we got to be smarter than that. You know, the best news is this stuff is not happening in a vacuum. Much depends on what we do. Frankly, I don't think the people at the Department of Education, people at the White House, the contractors, servicers, none of those people have a clue what they're going to do. They know what they want to do, but they have no idea how they're going to get there. And I can tell you that what we do matters right now. And so, and I said this a couple days ago, between now and November, whenever the elections are in November, and even before that, we, all of us individually, have got to be fighting as hard as possible. And again, the core of this lies in the return of bankruptcy. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. I get that. But bankruptcy lies at the core of everything. With the threat of bankruptcy returned, it will become pretty obvious that the president pretty much has to cancel loans broadly, widely, deeply, maybe even totally. I don't know. But that's the first thing that has to happen. What we saw yesterday from the Biden administration, it chills me to the bone. Anyways, we can't let ourselves be tricked again, guys. We cannot. And if you've been stuck with these loans for any length of time, like I have, many of the older people on this group, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you know, again, if you've been living with these loans for years or decades and watching this problem, you already know that what we do on this group actually matters a lot. I don't think we would not have a bankruptcy bill to fight for, but for the people on our group fighting this battle. I don't think we'd be talking about canceling student loans by executive order, but for our petition at change.org/cancel student loans that we started before almost anybody was talking about loan cancellation by executive order. So I know it doesn't look like it, guys, but this group is far more important than you might think. And thankfully, the thing today is a bit of a feather in our cap. I think the quickest path to getting this problem solved, and that starts with getting bankruptcy returned, lies with us convincing Republican senators to push, support, co-sponsor our bill, S-2598. And if you're even passingly familiar with this group, you will have seen that this is probably the number one thing that we're fighting for. But beyond that, we should be pushing Republican governors as well. The entire South is just absolutely wrecked by student loan debt. It is disgusting. States like North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, the whole entire South. It's like one contiguous thing. And then also Texas, huge amounts of student loan debt in those states. And if you look at the average debt versus the average earnings in those states, yeah, they're the worst 10 states in the nation are these southern red states. Out of the worst 20 states in the country, 17 of those states are red states. So we got to hit the Republicans. They've got to fight for their people and quit fighting for the colleges and the federal government. Just so important. Okay, I'm looking for the comments now, guys. Sorry to put you off. And we'll see how far I can get. Hey, Gordon Wayne Watts says, I'm not sure what he's saying. Maybe you can explain, Gordon. Hey, Doug Grostefan says, I really believe that the administration is waiting until September to make another huge announcement. Yeah, Doug, there's no good reason for them to have extended the pandemic pause to end of August, beginning of September. But for the only way that makes sense is that they're going to do another big thing just before the early voting starts in probably September, I think mid-September, late September, whatever. So we still have 7 months, guys. And Joe Biden could do the right thing. He could both return bankruptcy protections to student loans by executive order. Congress should, and if we have anything to say about it, meaning me and you out there who should be fighting with us, we should get bankruptcy rights back well before September 1st. And by September 1st, Biden could very well cancel these loans broadly, widely, meaningfully, maybe even totally. We've never seen a lending system in this country that is as badly failed as the federal student loan system. Subprime home mortgage default rate was 20%. The default rate for 2004 federal student loan borrowers is 40%, double that. And the class of 2004 was only borrowing a third of what people are borrowing today. So we're looking at a default rate of way over half, probably closer to like 75, 80%, maybe even more. Hey, Vanji, how are you? Says, I've been told by Senate staffers that S-2598, because S-2598 is in the Judiciary Committee, which it is, that if the senator I am not calling is not on the Judiciary Committee, they cannot co-sponsor. No, that's not true. Any senator can co-sponsor any bill. I do know that Dick Durbin is being they are picking and choosing who they put on as a co-sponsor on the bill. So I think it's up to the author of the bill to decide accept or decline co-sponsorships. But it's not just about co-sponsoring. The bill can be passed with no co-sponsors. What matters is votes in the Judiciary Committee to get the bill out of committee, and then obviously getting the bill on the floor in the Senate and voted on, and then beyond that, a companion House bill that obviously must also pass. but we are right on track. We've already got 2 Republican co-sponsors on the bill. So we're in very good shape in this bill. But as I said, guys, it does not happen in a vacuum. Much could go wrong between now and whenever. The bill is being marked up literally, and I was recently told, I was recently given an update from the Senate. The bill is being marked up next week and the week after, now that the Supreme Court nomination is all wrapped up. So what you sitting there do in the next, certainly the next 2 weeks, but honestly through November, it will win or lose the battle for us. It's just so important. And, remember also, it's not just us that we're fighting for. It's hundreds of millions, tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps. It's 44 of the 45 million people who don't know about this group. And please tell them. Word of mouth is the only way that we're going to grow. But this is the camel's nose under the tent, ladies and gentlemen. If they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, they can turn this entire country into essentially a slave state. I'm not kidding you. And believe me, the bad people would love to do that. I've been hearing murmurs for a couple of years now that they would love to put a similar, basically impossible barrier to bankruptcy on medical debt. And hey, the sky's the limit after that. Credit cards, why not? Any kind of public loan, any kind of federally guaranteed or owned loans. Yeah, there's no limit to where that can stop. And if we let them, we will become some kind of a indentured slave state to the, whatever you want to call it, the globalists, the banks, the rich people, the elite, etc. We do not want to go there, guys. I've got a ton of more comments here. Sorry if I missed them. Any senator can co-sponsor. You're right. Yeah, Wayne Gordon, you're right on that. But again, I think the author of the bill can determine who they decide to put onto the bill. Hey, Doug Grostefan says, how did you feel about the interview today? I felt pretty good. Let me know what you think. Could have been a little sharper. I think it was good. We certainly didn't make too many mistakes, and there's always a little bit of uncertainty with these live interviews. So there's always going to be a little bit of that. It's kind of like golf. Like, is there a perfect game of golf? Pretty much no. There's no perfect game of golf. But I was happy with it. I think we made all our points. Kelly Smith obviously seems happy. We're getting some nice emojis from him. Hey, Victoria says, then and only then it will be only the rich will be the holders of the degree. Right. That's a whole other thing, Victoria. The rich people in this country, or certain wealthy interests in this country, would love for only their kids to get college educations. That would be great for them. So they give people like Mike Rowe a ton of airtime where he can say, don't go to college, become a plumber instead. Well, what Mike Rowe doesn't know, and I really was hoping to be able to mention this today, is student loan borrowers, first, 40% never graduated. Millions of them went to vocational schools, so welding school and auto mechanic school and cosmetology and truck driving schools. Vocational students get a ton of student loans as well. So Mike Rowe needs to shut his freaking mouth when it comes to the student loan problem. Same thing with Dave Ramsey, by the way. Those guys are just absolute charlatans. But yeah, no, I felt good about it. Hey, Kelly says, we need you to share each other's posts on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Yeah, Kelly is so right. Word of mouth is the only way that we're going to grow, guys. We don't have an advertising budget. We pretty much don't even have a budget to speak of. We don't have staff. We don't have departments. All we have is volunteers, which are normal people everywhere in the world, certainly the country, well, and even the world. We have a expat group headed by Heather Taylor from Paris, and she has been getting just a ton of stuff done despite having her own thing going on. We need you to help us spread the word. about this group. We're kind of a big deal, if I may say so. And what I do know is that if we don't do what we do, then not much would have gotten done. And frankly, I don't think much would get done. Public pressure is very important. And right now, honestly, guys, I don't think more than even 10% of the people across all of our platforms. Sounds good, right? 1.1 million people on our petition, a couple 100,000 people on other platforms. If only 5 or 10% of those people are doing stuff, and frankly, I think on a day-to-day basis, this is far lower than that even. If a third of those people were doing stuff every day, we could overwhelm this problem and we could get these loans gone. We could get them gone. But that starts with you. It always has. It always will. That's the hard truth. If you think that you can sit back and wait and watch and worry and read fucking Forbes magazine and twiddle your thumbs and hope that this problem gets solved, does not work that way. And shame on you for thinking that. You're not better than us. You need to be helping us. These are your loans. This is your problem. And that's the most important thing I will say all night. So let me see also. Hey, Doug Grussman says again, I really believe that the administration is waiting until September to make another huge announcement. I already read that. Doug again says, I see many of you are finally understanding the situation. It took me a bit after I joined. Now I understand and I'm fully committed. Yeah, guys, it may not seem obvious, but the core of this whole deal lies in getting the threat of bankruptcy returned to the loans. Whether you would ever or never file is not important. Getting the threat, the leverage that bankruptcy provides to us returned to the loans means everything. It means the difference between fake loan cancellation and actual loan cancellation. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why the other so-called advocacy groups out there are not fighting with us shoulder to shoulder. Really the number one thing, truly, for bankruptcy. We're not going to get cancellation unless and until we get bankruptcy back. And quite frankly, I find it rather shameful. You know, anybody calling themselves a student loan activist or advocate, they should know at least that much. And the fact that we're not seeing many other groups fighting for bankruptcy, I mean, one of the groups I can tell you is literally corrupted. They don't want to solve this problem. They want to pimp this problem. They want to keep the lending system going. And quite frankly, we found very close ties with one of the groups between them and something called the DCI group. Google that. When I say dirty, I mean dirty. I mean actually against us. The other groups, I'm not even going to speak to it. But what I will say is that if you're in any other student loan advocacy groups, you should be asking the leaders of those groups very strongly to defend why they are so silent on the bankruptcy issue. The collection industry wants nothing more than to see a mass default in the continued absence of bankruptcy protections. And by being quiet on bankruptcy, these other groups are playing right into that, the collection industry's hands. Whenever they turn this lending system back on, guys, remember, we are going to see a mass default. That is inevitable. I don't care if they take loans out of default or what they do. We are going to see a mass default. You probably are not going to resume paying. If you're like 75 or 80% of everybody, you're probably not going to resume paying. Do you want to face that reality with at least the threat of bankruptcy back on your side? Or would you rather face that reality whenever they turn the lending system back on without the threat of bankruptcy in your back pocket, naked and afraid and vulnerable and exposed? I think you want that first thing if you're not an absolute idiot. So again, in every scenario, in every case, in every permutation of paths forward, getting the threat of bankruptcy is key to all of them. So I hope that makes sense to you. Bankruptcy is not sexy. It's not fun to fight for. It's not pleasant. But the founding fathers knew that having bankruptcy protections was so important. They called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the body of the Constitution. In fact, they called for it ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army, ahead of the power to build a navy. So yeah, guys, the one action item I have for everyone this weekend is go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, do our daily actions. Do our daily actions. In fact, do a month worth of our daily actions. They go super quick. They're very easy. It's mostly Twitter stuff. Retweet this, retweet that. It is not hard at all. You can probably do a month worth of our actions in less than 20 minutes. But do that. It helps, and we need you to. And like I said, if even 30% of the people on our group, on our petition, etc., if even 30% of the people did that, that's like 350 plus thousand people, we would have this problem solved. We'd have it licked probably by like summertime, like August or something. But that all begins with you. Do 2 months worth of our daily actions. We have such a huge muscle to flex, ladies and gentlemen. You have no idea. So anyways, I hope you all are pleased with our thing on Fox today. More than anything, I hope that we will get similar opportunities with other conservative news channels. And quite frankly, I think we should be on, all of them, and CNN, MSNBC, NPR, all that stuff. But really where this battle is easiest won is when we go into the lion's den, or in the case of today, let's call it the fox's den. This is where the battle is won. This is where we need to be. So anything that you can do to get any conservative show anywhere to have a fight with us, we come out on top every single time, and we always will. Trust me on that. So let's do it, guys. We're ready to roll. So with that, guys, I'm sorry I couldn't get through to all of your comments, but I hope you're pleased. I hope you'll do everything that I said today. It will help so much, and you will feel better for helping us fight this fight. It's cathartic. It feels good to be doing. The right founders are on our side. The Constitution is on our side. Common sense and decency is on our side. The only people that are against us are terrible, terrible people, in my humble opinion. Okay, one last question here. I see Victoria is wondering, where can I watch your interview? I was working, so I didn't get to see it. Well, you can go to foxnews.com, but the show is called America's Newsroom. And but probably the easiest way is just find us on Twitter, Student Loan Just #1, and we have it. It's among the first few of our tweets. Like we tweeted, I think twice or maybe even 3 times today. So you can watch it on Twitter very easily. And while you're at it, do a month worth of our daily actions. I know you already have probably, Victoria, but and by the way, to everybody out there who is doing the daily grind with us of doing these stupid Twitter things and calling your senators and calling your Republican governors and all that stuff, I salute you. And I do. We are the pioneers, and everybody out there should be following your example. And if you're one of the people on the other side of that coin, you need to get off your ass, because we cannot carry your load for you. You got to carry your own load. You got to pull your own weight here. And that is just the truest thing I'll say for the 5th time tonight. So come on, guys, we're on a roll. Let's keep this thing going. Let's see if we can't get on, I don't know, Newsmax or Tucker Carlson, or if Rush Limbaugh was still around, I'd say him, but whatever. Let's see what we can do to open conservatives' eyes. But don't be limited to that, though. We'll go on any show. Oh, very last thing I'll say. I'm going on Coast to Coast AM tomorrow night. I'm doing the late show with Ian Pullett, I believe his name is. It's going to be really late. It's going to be 1 a.m. Eastern time. It's like a 2-hour show too, by the way. Coast to Coast. If you know about it, you know about it. If you don't, you probably never will understand. coast to coast. So that's going to be 10 p.m. Pacific time. So, okay, guys, let's get this done. We need you. Fight. I hope you're encouraged and inspired. Nobody's going to step. You have no idea how important you are, in the immortal words of famous fictitious hero, John Connors of Terminator 4 Salvation fame. Let's make it happen. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Sunday. Good luck, everybody. God bless and Godspeed.